Who is actually the strongest fighter in The Walking Dead? The show has been going on for over 11 seasons, and with that we've seen everything from skilled fighters in martial arts like Jesus to absolute monsters like Beta. So today I'm gonna be ranking the 10 strongest hand-to-hand fighters in the entire show. It's worth noting that I'm only counting characters from the main series, and this is strictly hand-to-hand combat, so I will not be counting characters who are merely skilled with weapons, which is why characters like Morgan won't be on this list, even though you might expect to see him. Obviously this is just based on my opinion and what we actually see these characters doing in the show. So with all of that cleared up, let's get right into the list. At the number 10 spot I've got Negan Smith, the most iconic villain in this show and one with a brutal fighting style. Negan has a good fighting technique in most of his encounters. His most prominent one would definitely be in his fight with Simon, as it's the most legitimate fight we see him in. The fight in its premise is unfair for Negan. Simon is physically much larger and stronger than him, and he starts out by getting off-guarded by Simon.
A grateful enclave. Thanks.
Therefore, he has a massive disadvantage from the start, but he still managed to come out on top, showing superior fighting style, strength and durability, and ending the fight by crushing his neck. There's no doubt that he's actually a really strong fighter. Unfortunately, he just doesn't have that many other pure hand-to-hand feats against stronger characters that would place him very high on this list. One of his major flaws is that he usually uses Lucille, his melee weapon, to weaken his opponents, get the first strike in with Lucille, and then go into a hand-to-hand fight, which makes him kind of difficult to rank here. Though he did definitely perform decently against Rick nonetheless, and he's also known for having an incredibly high battle IQ and general IQ. At the number 9 spot, I have put Merle Dixon, the crazy brother of Daryl. Merle has a really good fighting technique, and he has marine experience too, so we know that in his younger years he has received combative training, which does kinda line up with what we see in the show, because he definitely does have a prominent fighting style. The same problem with Negan though, he doesn't have that many pure hand-to-hand feats, so it's kinda hard to place him on a list like this. In most of the fights we see him in, he usually gets off-guarded or off-guards his opponents with one-taps, which is also kinda difficult to rank because it's not really a fair fight. Though his most prominent feat would definitely be landing a really powerful hit on the governor despite being weakened. Had he not been weakened by the governor's group right before this, he definitely could have had a fairer chance against him. The reason I've decided to place him just above Negan is because he has really strong attack potency, durability and pain tolerance. But yeah, the same problem, he just lacks feats. He could be even higher on this list. At the number 8 spot, I've decided to put Shane Walsh. That might be a bit controversial. A lot of people might expect to see him even higher on the list. But Shane definitely does have a really solid fighting style, utilizing punches, elbows and even headbutts. And his most prominent feat would be winning the fight with relatively low difficulty against Rick in Season 2. He has really good battle IQ, he has good strategies, he has a great pain tolerance and physical stats. I just simply haven't seen enough from Shane to be able to place him even higher on this list with how many good fighters we actually have in this show. But overall there's not that much to say about him. He's a really well-rounded fighter and he has a lot of physical capability. So definitely deserves to be in the top 10. At the number 7 spot, I've got Tyreese. I feel like a lot of people often overlook Tyreese as this gentle giant and just this big protector, and that's definitely true, but when he does get involved in fights, he fights like an absolute brute. He rams, body slams, punches, there's nothing this man can't do. One of his most prominent feats would be when he fought Season 4 Rick. He completely floored him and made him spew out blood after a few punches.
She wouldn't want you being like this.
Which is just a crazy feat. Not many people have been able to do that to Rick before. He has great stamina and pain tolerance. There's this scene where he's surrounded by a herd of walkers, and he actually managed to get out of it, just mowing all of them down with a hammer in his own strength. In Season 5 he also beat a termite with a body slam after ramming through a door, the guy who held Judith hostage. So yeah, Tyreese doesn't have that many full fights. If he did though, I think he would rank even higher on this list, possibly sneaking into the top 5. But even with what we have seen from Tyreese, I'm gonna have to place him at the number 7 spot. At the number 6 spot, I've got Rick Grimes. Now before you go to the comments telling me that he shouldn't be this low, please allow me to explain. Over the seasons, Rick's fighting style definitely has become very balanced, especially in the later seasons. He uses punches, kicks, bites, takedowns, etc. He also has good inverse over a lot of characters. He was superior to Negan in Season 8 when they fought. He also overpowered Shane and Merle both in Season 1, and he still has some of the best durability in the entire show, arguably the best, and some very insane pain tolerance. So why is he this low? Rick's main problem is that he left in Season 9 of the show, which is exactly when some of the strongest characters were introduced and some of the strongest version of existing characters were introduced. So that just leaves him a bit behind on the inverse. I can't get myself to place him higher just because I need to see that he can still keep up with these characters. But I guess we'll never know because he decided to leave in Season 9. But yeah, overall, very balanced fighter, definitely deserves to be on this list, could have arguably been in the top 5. Taking off the top 5, we've got the Governor.
In your cars, Get your guns. We go in. Kill them all. Roger that.
This man probably has the most brutal fighting style in the entire show. Bites, eye gouges, breaking limbs, headbutts, chokeholds, kicks, and punches. This guy simply doesn't give a shit. His biggest feat would probably be his fight with Rick in Season 4, where he completely floored him and played around with him, even after he got caught off guard by Rick. And despite the two of them having equal disadvantages, arguably the governor having the worst disadvantage, having been shot in his right biceps. He also had a confrontation with Merle, where he completely messed Merle up, he bit Merle's fingers off and snapped his arm, once again going to prove his absolutely brutal fighting style. It's worth mentioning, however, that Merle was beat up by the governor's men beforehand, so it's not the most fair fight ever, but it still goes to prove his fighting style is absolutely brutal. He also has some insane pain tolerance and raw strength, and he definitely deserves to be in the top 5. At the number 4 spot, we've got Brandon Carver, the absolute strongest the Reapers have to offer. Carver has some of the best and most balanced combat in the entirety of the main show. He utilizes elbows, punches and kicks alongside his great movement, which is what makes him such a formidable fighter. Carver has a few good feats, but his best one would definitely be going toe to toe with Daryl in Season 11, although you could make the argument that Daryl was hindered by a heavy backpack, and Carver also fought him on his home field at night, so it was definitely slightly to Carver's advantage, but it's not something that changes the circumstances drastically. Furthermore, he had a 1v3 against Negan, Elijah and Maggie, where he showed great technique, combat skills and reaction. Now it is worth noting that Negan was definitely out of prime, Elijah was injured, and Maggie is not exactly the strongest hand-to-hand fighter, so fighting them in itself is not that impressive, but taking on 3 people at once, no matter who they are, is gonna be an impressive feat, especially showing such skill, and he nearly won the fight if it hadn't been for Negan taking him out with a surprise attack.
Well, ding ding.
Carver without a doubt deserves to be up here. Now, right before we get into the top 3 strongest fighters, I do have a few honorable mentions I think are worth mentioning. The first one would be Montaño, or the Bush Reaper. So this guy definitely has the potential to be considered a really strong fighter, but he just doesn't really have enough feats. Now, I have seen a lot of people trying to argue that he actually should be considered the strongest in the entire show, just because of him slamming Daryl into a tree. Now, it is worth noting that Daryl didn't really have his hands free, and it doesn't really prove anything but his lifting strength. Other than that, he had really slow reaction speed and poor battle IQ. He basically just walked into every projectile that came his way. The second one would be Michael Mercer from the Commonwealth. He definitely also has the potential to be one of the strongest fighters in the entire show, but he also lacks feats. Via statements and logic, he should definitely be in the top 5. He was a Marine for years, and he has one of the best physiques, if not the best, in the entire show. He has good feats against walkers, which is solid, but doesn't really prove that he's one of the strongest fighters. Logically, he should be one of the most skilled fighters in the show too, just via his experience, but unfortunately he just doesn't have enough feats for me to put him up here, even though I'd love to. The last one I can't go without mentioning would be Abraham Ford. His main problem is also that he lacks feats. His best one is easily overpowering Pete, who in Season 5 Rick also struggled with. But the problem with this is that we don't know exactly how it took place, so we can't just use this to say that Abraham would be stronger than Rick. He could have just overpowered him with raw strength and not have it be a legitimate inverse, but it is worth noting nonetheless. He has good experience too, and good tactics, good overall strength, and good weapon handling, but none of it is enough to really put him all the way in the top 10, unfortunately. Now with those cleared up, let's get into the top 3. At the number 3 spot, we've got Daryl Dixon.
Who are you?
Daryl.
I don't think it's a surprise to anyone that he's landed up here. He has one of the most well-rounded combat styles in the entire show, showing both good wrestling skills, punches, kicks, and a good sense of movement speed as well. Under neutral circumstances, he should slightly edge out Carver in a fight, which goes to show his combat skills and how strong of a fighter he actually is. He has great durability, pain tolerance, and battle IQ, seen in his Season 9 fight with Beta especially. Now throughout the show, Daryl has also consistently scaled to Rick, which is impressive enough, but Daryl got even stronger after Rick left in Season 9, which is why he's this high up and even higher up than Rick. So yeah, I don't have that much more to say about Daryl, he's just a really well-rounded fighter, and yeah, I don't think anyone is surprised he's all the way up here. Now moving into the top 2. Now at the number 2 spot, we've got Paul Rovia, or better known as Jesus in the show. Paul definitely has the best combat skills we see in the entire series. It's kind of similar to Carver in the sense that he delivers kicks, punches, headbutts, etc. And he's very good at using it with his movement, exactly like Carver as well. He could pretty much one-shot Season 6 Rick with a kick after comboing him, as seen in this scene. Furthermore, he also easily reacted to Daryl's attacks in Season 6 and slammed him into a truck, which goes to show he has even better reaction than Carver with a similar fighting style, which is insanely impressive and scales him quite high up here. Now alongside this, he has the absolute best mobility in the entire show, seen with his acrobatics and especially in his fight against Morgan. He consistently dodges around trees, easily disarms an enraged Morgan in Season 8, which is impressive in and of itself. And yeah, all of these things combined makes him one of the strongest fighters, and he is very very close to being at the number 1 spot, but there is one even stronger contender.
Your world is already dead.
Now at the number 1 spot, we've got Beta, which I don't think comes as a surprise to anyone. Beta has a brutal combat style just like the Governor, utilizing punches, kicks, slams, palm strikes, etc. But where the Governor lacks, Beta absolutely shines, standing at 6 foot 5 inches tall, and with a lot of his frame being absolutely pure muscle. In his fight with Daryl in Season 9, he completely brutalized him despite fighting in a room that Daryl had literally prepared to fight Beta, which is just so impressive, because Beta had a massive disadvantage going into that fight. Alongside that, Beta has the best pain tolerance in the entire show. He's consistently seen pulling knives out of his body, acting like it's nothing, both the chest and the face. He also just walked off falling down an elevator shaft. And there is also a fight scene with Rosita where she basically slices his stomach up with a sword, and he just gets back up right after that and one-shots her. On that note, he also had a fight with Negan where he one-shot him, both of these fights technically counting as both melee and hand-to-hand combat. Now Beta also has incredible durability, arguably the best durability in the entire show alongside Rick, and despite Beta's size, he has some insane speed too. He could keep up with Daryl perfectly and even outpace him at points in their fight. So yeah, with all of these things combined, I don't think anyone is surprised that Beta is the strongest in the entire show. And even though this video focuses only on the main show, I don't think that anyone from any of the spin-offs even stands a chance against him. He is undoubtedly the strongest The Walking Dead has to offer. So yeah, that was my complete list for the top 10 strongest characters in the main show of The Walking Dead. If I make any updates to this list, I will do so in the pinned comment down below, so be sure to check that if some time goes on and there's new inverse that I'm unaware of. Do you guys agree with my list? Please let me know down below. I'm super curious to hear what you guys think are the top 10 strongest fighters in The Walking Dead. A like and subscribe would be greatly appreciated. And yeah, if you like what I make, please watch some more of my videos and stay tuned for more to come. Have a wonderful day.